And welcome to the Sydney Football Stadium. The second of our sudden death semi-finals. The Canterbury Bulldogs take on the Cronulla Sharks. And that's probably the best sight that Canterbury fans have been anxious about all week, that of Darren Britt leading them out. He's probably their most valuable player, really. A couple of the others are not there today, but Big Darren, the foundation stone is. Great rugby league club, tremendous record in finals. And now, the Sharks of Cronulla, 3 times to the grand final. Still the presentation cabinet is empty. We're hopeful that 2001 might be their year. Lovely day. Let's have a look at the cards.
And coach John Lang has the luxury of fielding the same 17 that defeated Brisbane last weekend, with David Pucci at fullback and captain, Rogers and Best the wingers, Mellor, McKenna in the centres. Dykes and Campbell the halves, Nick Graham locks the scrum, with Long and McNicholas the second row pairing, Stevens, Lang and Ferris the front row. Off the bench, Beattie, Pearce, Stewart and Treaster.
No changes for the Sharks, but a terrible week for the Bulldogs. A lot of changes here. Patton, El Masri, Martini, Vunganar, Talau, Smith, Trendall, Reardon, Mason, Feeney, Britt, Price and Perry. On the bench, Hughes, Rahihi, Scott and Peake, coached by Stephen Folkes.
And as was the case last night, there's Braithen Astor before the start of the game. A minute's silence to be observed following the devastating attacks on New York and Washington last Tuesday that have left thousands still missing, as you know, and including over 90 Australians.
Ladies and gentlemen.
As I said earlier, it's a lovely day. Good day to be sitting on the sideline, Andrew. Good afternoon.
Yeah, it certainly is. Very warm. In fact, almost too warm to start the game. Ray, a tip straight from the Bulldogs' game plan. They feel there's plenty of errors in this Sharks side. They know they like to offload. The aim will be for the Dogs to keep the defensive pressure on. The turnovers of possession will come.
Almost a windless day. So that doesn't come into the equation. Rogers starts for Cronulla. So Canterbury guarding the southern end, and Darren Britt is the first of the Bulldogs to take it back to the defence line on his own 20-metre line. Stephen Price, who suffered that rib injury just the other day, in combat again. The team minus Braithen Astor, minus Brent Sherwin and also Glenn Hughes. Mason was recalled into the side for this game. He's with the ball in the opening set of 6 in this sudden death semi-final, and this is Steve Reardon, who's put down on the 30-metre line. So far, it's been a very solid Cronulla defensive line, with Long going in with Ferris to halt Stephen Price's second hit up on that set of 6, and now Trindle, who will, I guess, undertake a lot more kicking responsibility with no Braithen Astor. This is Rogers on the kick return, 35 metres out from the Cronulla line. So the Sharks, they get their first use of the ball with Mellor, who came up with 3 tries in that match the other day. Now Martin Lang to the halfway line. There wouldn't be a family in the Sutherland Shire more desirous of winning a grand final than the Langs, obviously, with John seemingly retiring and Martin heading for the Penrith Panthers. Now it's Nick Graham looking for a hole down the blind side, draws 2 defenders, finds Mellor waiting in anticipation. Campbell coming up on the outside, but he's gone without the football. And then it's away from Ferris to Dykes, and Dykes puts his kick up and across, and trouble for Martini. He left the field of play, landed in goal, and it is play on with the Dogs in possession back on their own line.
That was a superb kick from Adam Dykes, came down exactly where he wanted. Would imagine Steve Price will be going through for the rest of the match, putting plenty of pressure on. As Britt is tackled 18 out, centre field, slow play the ball.
Trindle again. Passing this time to Nigel Vangana. Play on the eastern side. And Stephen Price on tackle number 5. Inside the 40-metre line, the kick from Trindle. Way down the ground, bouncing 10 metres in from the sideline. Rogers. Long ball for Peachy. There's the defensive line that will become monotonous from Cronulla's point of view. The Dogs coming into the game as distinct underdogs. Colin Best, they love it that way, Canterbury. The roar of the crowd. McKenna. Ferris then for Lang. Oh! That has shaken the foundations from Darren Britt. McNicholas.
They may have lost players this week, but Darren Britt takes his place. He's had an elbow problem for a while, not evident on that tackle. It's Peachy. Great ball to Campbell. He's away.
Campbell to the 30-metre line. Now, Colin Best heading for the corner. Gets it back on the inside. Graham. They're over. Nick Graham has scored. 4 minutes into the game.
Well, we saw some marvellous tries scored last night. This is equal to any. Wonderful stuff, and again, it involves the big guns. Peachy going across, he frees it there. You can see Preston Campbell coming on the inside. Not much of a gap here, but as play continues, Preston Campbell, will-o'-the-wisp, skips out of tackles. A great ball here from Campbell, onto the chest of Colin Best. He backs himself, he takes them on, nearly gets around, and a superb one-hander back to Nick Graham. Tremendous work from Graham, a lock forward, supporting 50 to 60 metres.
Yeah, sensational football there, but there is a suggestion there may have been an intercept, a shepherd there as Campbell went through that narrow gap. Dykes was up in the Bulldogs' defensive line. There was a defender who ran into the back of him. The beautiful football on the end of this. Great ball from Campbell. A long pass like that when you're running at pace is very, very difficult. Colin Best decides to back himself on the outside of Talau. He can't reach him. Finally gets a grab on one leg, turns it back on the inside, and Nick Graham, a forward, has done very well to back up those two speedsters, lunges to the line and puts it down for the opening try of this semi-final.
Here's the conversion attempt, it's online. Rogers has converted from the touchline. 5 minutes gone, 6-0 Sharks. A welcome now to our overseas audiences. Wonderful start for Cronulla, like it was for Brisbane last night. We've come to learn, though. As El Masri takes us into the action again, we've come to learn that you might lead the Dogs by 10 or 12 or even 20. But you've never really got them beaten. That is a big tackle on Stevens, and the Dogs come up with the ball, 27 out.
Yeah, Darren Britt again, absolutely terrific shot that time. Jolted the ball loose, good possession here, good chance for the Bulldogs to hit back.
Trindle now, using Darren Smith on the short side of play. Over on this, the western side, they're running into the northern end of the ground. Trindle finding Britt. Out at second receiver, the big fella. 15 away from the line now. Perry on to Trindle. Trindle cuts out Patton. It's gone over to Vangana. Vangana struggles on the 10-metre line. El Masri comes away for Trindle. Then for Darren Smith. Here's a try. It's forward. It's a forward pass.
It's always deceiving when a long pass. Here's the hit from Darren Brett. Great shot. Jolted the ball loose, presented this opportunity. Long, deep passes, followed by a shallow, flat pass. Give the impression of the ball going forward. Now, Bill Harrigan was 10 metres away from the action upfield, yet he ruled that that ball travelled forward. It looked flat. Can't argue with the decision.
So the Sharks are led off for them, and Stevens goes back. Let's have another look at that forward pass as soon as we get a moment. Here's Lang. Here it is again. Darren Smith.
Problem with situations like this is when the man gets tackled, he gets jolted back, and it almost accentuates the fact that the ball has gone forward. It was a very close call as Nick Graham runs behind his own player in Martin Lang. That too was very close to a shepherd.
So Ferris, picked up by Campbell. Now he's gone down, Campbell. Harrigan's penalising. He's penalised one of the Canterbury players, I believe Perry, for hanging a leg out and tripping Campbell.
I think you're right, Ray. I think it is Adam Perry who is deemed to be the culprit. And Perry's defence was that he was actually looking the other way, but the arm was put out. Great pick-up from Preston Campbell. He had no right to pick that up off his bootlaces and then get a good little kick in behind the line.
And an interesting decision here. Matt Rogers has come across from the left wing to have a shot at goal. Successful with his first attempt from the sideline.
What's this tell you, Phil?
Well, showing a lot of respect. 2 points here, an 8-point break early in the piece. We saw the Broncos get off to a flyer last night against the Dragons, and they couldn't reel them in.
Just let me go back to that try that was disallowed, the forward pass. I've got to say, on the close-up replay off another of our angles, it looked as though it might be a very heavy call on Canterbury. Rogers, he's got it. There's another 2. 8-0 Sharks. Sideline Andrew.
And Ray, just a little concern right now for the Sharks for their number 4, Chris McKenna, on screen. Copped the knock in the high up on the ribs or up near the sternum. He has really been struggling the last few minutes. He will be monitored closely over the next 5 or 10.
McKenna, the player that Andrew was talking about. Had a lot of injury problems, head knocks. A lot of them in the season. So the Sharks leading 8-0. They know that every point. Oh, well, this is Britt versus Lang and Lang versus Britt, and they are just serving it up to each other. Here's Lang.
I got to say, Ray, if I kept running into Darren Britt like that, I'd develop a sidestep.
I'd somehow rather find somebody else to take the ball up while he's still out there. Now McNicholas. Lost behind them. Chance for the Dogs. Martini loses it. Dykes. Colin Best. A settler. 33 metres out from the Sharks line. Graham. Ferris. Lang. Trindle has gone high. Darrell has a bit of a problem in this area. When you're tackling bigger men and the coach wants the ball shut down, there's a fine line, and he's gone above the shoulders to take Martin Lang.
Well, it's a recipe for disaster, isn't it? It's such a small margin of error. Steve Folkes looks on only impassively from the coach's bench.
Peachy finding the line. Crowd over there basking in the sunshine. Almost a summer's day in Sydney. Campbell through for Dykes. 30 metres out centre of the ground. Right in the middle of the Telstra sign, the major sponsor. Graham through for Nathan Long. Just outside the Dogs' 20-metre line with an 8-0 lead. Now he's knocked on Campbell.
Bill Harrigan ruling the ball went straight down in front. Well, he actually got 2 touches to that and knocked it backwards, I feel. It looked as though it was going to go straight down in front. Bill Harrigan said it hit the ground, then bounced backwards. It actually hit his hand a second time.
Patton in from fullback. Trindle using Stephen Price down the blind side.
Of course, the Sharks come here today not having beaten the Bulldogs throughout the season. They went down in both the round matches, 20-6, and then a controversial affair in round 25, that 2-point victory. The Sharks actually led 12-0 in that game. Now they're well aware of the capabilities of the Dogs to come back. Willie Mason, charge, 32 metres out, still a couple of tackles up their sleeve.
Trindle turning it back, knocked on there by Adam Perry.
Yeah, difficult pass here from Trindle, looking at players on the outside, turned back inside to throw a face ball, and Perry just couldn't make up the yards. He was running at the wrong angle. Got his hand to the football, probably best to let it go. Those types of mistakes will only eat away at the confidence of the Dogs.
Chris McKenna still out on the right wing for Cronulla as Paul Mellor reaches the 40-metre line.
What about that take then from Peachy? That was ball that was out in front. He reached out, took it off his bootlaces, then threw a pass off it. I'd be just happy to catch it and play on.
Now McKenna has come from the field. Stevens! I don't have to tell you who got him. Shoulder charge from Britt again. Now Campbell.
Well, I'm assuming Chris McKenna must be injured because I'm pretty sure he's gone up the tunnel as McNicholas takes it over the halfway line, and he's not the kind of player, obviously, that would be interchanged after just 13 minutes.
Stewart on in jumper number 16.
We've just had Daryl Trindle come up against Paul McNicholas.
Here's Peachy! Peachy! Oh, that's a forward pass, isn't it? No! He's allowed it to go! Ferris is over! Ferris has scored! Well, from this elevation, it looked to be as though it was forward from Peachy to Ferris, but the try is on the board.
And again, Bill Harrigan was in direct line of this. They're having some luck with these inside balls. We freeze it there. You can see players not coming across. David Peachy, he loves coming up the inside as play continues. A yawning gap. And then Jason Ferris back on the inside. Look at Harrigan. He's in great line. He's on the far side there. That's forward for mine, but Harrigan is in the best possible position. He said, no, it's okay.
The difficulty here was that Ferris was always in front of Peachy. Ferris was slowing down, waiting for Peachy to pass, and Peachy passed a little too early. I agree. I think the ball's gone forward, even though Peachy has tried to throw it to the back of Ferris. Ferris was slowing down to keep himself onside. Bill Harrigan in a perfect line, but passes back on the inside are troubling them. From that angle, you would say fine. From where we sit up here, it looked as though it was probably half a yard forward.
Rogers, 21 metres in from the touchline. He's got the boot singing. It is 14-0, the Sharks after 16. Well, a similar start here today for the Sharks as it was for Brisbane last night, isn't it? Copybook stuff. Starts again as we welcome you back from a break. And Stevens charges out to the 20-metre line. Lang, 66% of possession has gone to the Sharks. That will be some kind of a consolation, I suppose, to the supporters of the Bulldogs. Pretty hard to win football matches when your opposition has got twice as much ball as you have. Here's McNicholas, tallest man in the game of rugby league, playing it on the 40-metre line, his own end of the park. They've only lost 2 of their last dozen games, the Sharks. One of those losses was to the Canterbury Bulldogs. Tackle number 5 as Dykes puts a kick down to bounce on the 20-metre point. Now from the 10-metre line, it is Luke Patton beating Ferris.
John Lang will be much happier with that set of 6. wasn't their best, but the last couple of times they've come out of their own end, they've done so with mistakes. Got through to the last. Dykes got a nice kick down. The chase was okay. They go wide to the danger side. Bungana and El Masri.
Well, Bungana was going over the touchline and he passed desperately, but Rogers came up with the ball for the Sharks. Now it's Graham. Ferris. Lang. Taken by Price. Just outside the 20-metre line to the short side again. Long. Stevens. Second man play. Dykes. Campbell. Campbell is over. Campbell is over. And Harrigan wants to check it. Well, if Blacklock scored last night...
Leave me out.
If Blacklock scored last night, Preston Campbell has scored today.
No comment.
This will be interesting. The pressure is on.
Well, again, we've got to ask the same question as we did last night.
I think he's been released though, Pete.
That's what I'm about to say. Do the tacklers let go of him? They do. That's a try. That is a try.
Yeah, no worries there. Totally agree. They had their opportunity to secure Preston Campbell. He's quick and he's strong, and he actually comes out the other side of this tackle. They don't get a hand on him. He's quite within his rights to jump up and plant the football down. That is definitely a try, and we'll get the green light on this one. And the Sharks are carving up the Bulldogs.
And as we saw with the last try, the inside ball. David Pucci was the recipient before the try to Jason Ferris. This time Preston Campbell catching out the defence on the inside. And with their superior speed, they're always going to get through the line. There's the green light.
So it is the third try of the day for the Sharks. Campbell and Peachy, they have figured in two of them. It is 18-0. And Rogers will have a simple conversion attempt. Here's the replay.
Yeah, good work there. A good second man play brought the inside part of the defence up straight. Then the long ball stretched them, and Preston Campbell just waits back on the inside. Inside defenders struggling to get across. Firstly Reardon, coming back was Hughes, coming across was Patton. No one gets a handle on him, no one holds him down, and the little fella lunges out and puts it down.
Rogers then converts. It is 20-0. That is the same score that Brisbane led last night over St George Illawarra. They took 16 minutes to do it. It has taken the Sharks 18 minutes to do it. The similarities between the starts, quite incredible, Andrew.
And Ray and racing parlance, you'd have to say the form line's looking fantastic out of that match last Friday week between the Sharks and the Broncos. Just an update on Chris McKenna. He remains in the dressing rooms. The doctor basically saying, look, wait and see. It is a rib injury for Chris McKenna.
Lang. Stevens.
Well, no greater test now than the character and the composure of this Bulldogs outfit. They too have plenty of time to go in this game, and they know that they've got plenty of points in them if they can just get good ball control and play good field position. As Dykes on to Mellor, behind Rogers, he did well, kicks for himself and will get it.
And another, and another. And now El Masri has got the ball for the Dogs. Darren Smith. Vangana. Price. Corey Hughes is on at dummy half. Reardon for Patton. Patton got away from McNicholas. Circled away from Graham, but was taken by Ferris and Dykes. And Darren Smith puts in a kick for Peachy. Peachy willing it over the dead ball line. Now the defence comes at him, and he beats them.
Yeah, he had three defenders come down on him, but Peachy very cleverly got himself isolated on just one player to beat. You'll see 3 players there, but he'll take the wide one and get inside Vunganar and back into the field of play. That's great fullback play.
The Sharks by 20 points to 0. 20 minutes of the game gone. Played there by Colin Best. Martin Lang taken by Reardon. Ferris across to Dykes. And Dykes bounces the ball down on the 10-metre line, in from touch. Masri, couple of the little men from the Sharks leading the chase. Dykes and Ferris making the tackle. And he's penalised for the tackle on Dennis Scott, lifting above the horizontal.
Yeah, said he got his legs up in the air. Stevens here and Ferris lifted the leg over the top, and I'll tell you what, that was a welcome penalty for the Bulldogs. They still had 3 or 4 players struggling to get back on side after Dykes' kick and chase down the left-hand side of the field, and the Dogs are rattled. They have come from well back to win games during the course of the season, but not against a team that is playing with the confidence of the Sharks. They need some quality possession. They need plenty of it.
I mentioned earlier the right-hand side for the Dogs is the danger side. Well, Masri and Vunganar have scored 35 tries between them this year, up against Talau and Martini just 11. So they have a lot of strike power on that far side. They're up against Rogers, great defender.
Trindle turning it back for Reardon to bounce away from a shoulder. Rahihi is on also for the Dogs. Wide for Darren Smith, and then it comes off the shoulder of Feeney. And the Sharks come up with the football.
Yeah, Darren Smith, normally a ball runner, today playing at 5'8" for the injured Braithen Astor. He's already had 1 forward pass pulled back, and this one trying to selectively put a man into a hole was too hard. Comes up with another error. They are missing a little bit of creativity outside Darren Trindle.
5-3 the error count against the Dogs at the moment. Played by Campbell. Now for Graham. He also picked up one of the tries for the Sharks. Picked up the first try, as a matter of fact. There's Ricky Stewart. He's running the water, but I'll tell you what, he's doing plenty of talking behind the line, and he's been as busy as any of the Canterbury players at this point in time. Charged down by the charge down master. That was Price again at his best. This is Feeney. Now from Corey Hughes. Trindle away for Talau. Talau gets it on for Martini, and he's over the sideline. Colin Best making the cover tackle.
Gee, he did well here, Colin Best. I know he's got great speed, but he actually caters for 2 players here. Stephen Price, superb desperation. Got a result. Came up to Darren Smith. Now they have an overlap on this side when they come to the left. And Colin Best at the end went in on a man and then had enough speed to get across and take Martini in a cover defending tackle over the sideline. It's a great attribute, speed like that.
And I think for 2 strides, Martini thought he was around him. Really backed himself to get to the try line, but Best picked him up very, very quickly. A let off there for the Sharks, but those charge downs, the Bulldogs famous for them, particularly Stephen Price, they can turn a football game.
So Cronulla winning the scrum back on their own 10-metre line. Leading by 20 points to nothing. And just a flicker of hope there for Canterbury, but as Peter Sterling has pointed out, Colin Best shutting it down, backing himself. Stevens now 30 metres away from his own line. He and Lang have just been taking it up and copping the full brunt of the defence. Britt, incidentally, is back on the bench at the moment. Now Beattie is on for the Sharks. No nonsense, tough. Pearce is about to come on. Dyke steps, loses the ball one-on-one. Dogs ball.
And again, it was Stephen Price going through, putting pressure on. Trindle turns the ball back inside to Vunganar. Nice tackle low. Jason Stevens, the man.
Reardon again. Able to unload in traffic. That's a good pass. even though it might have bounced a couple of times. Patton got it away for Darren Smith. They've got some numbers. Talau runs away from the sideline, trying to make some territory for Martini. Takes the tackle. Martini takes the dummy half work. Now Feeney goes towards the centre of the park. It goes from Corey Hughes over to Darryl Trindle. Trindle goes inside the 10. They're going to make it. They're going to make it. Talau is over. Willie Talau has scored for the Canterbury Bulldogs. He wants to have a look at it. He'll want to have a look at his left arm, I think, in relation to the touch in goal.
Well, Stephen Price on 2 occasions now have given his side an opportunity. This is Talau going across in the tackle. He'll get the ball down a mile inside. And they've got their first points. Very good work from Darryl Trindle in the lead up as well. Was going to the right, stepped back to the left and created that overlap. And the New Zealand international was able to take full advantage. This will be a green light and the confidence will be lifted.
And no doubt here he's got the ball down in time. And as Peter Sterling said, it came off the back of another great result in defence. And over the years, the Bulldogs have been the best team in the competition. Look at that desperation from Price. His second play in the space of a minute.
Here's the work leading up to it from Darryl Trindle. This is a fantastic ball from Jamie Feeney. Look at that. Now Trindle gets it, we freeze it there. You can see everybody's going that way, but Trindle realises that this is where the danger men are. He will come across and create an overlap back this way as play continues. Some good footwork. Now all of a sudden, everybody's coming in. Colin Best has to go in, and it's 2-on-1 on the outside. Talau able to beat Best on this occasion.
Yeah, this is instinct, knowing where the plays come from, knowing where it has to go, and Trindle off the right foot gets himself. And this is action replay. Numbers on the outside. Preston Campbell, how many times has he got a hand of that ball to save a try? Colin Best comes across in desperation. Talau gets the ball down. But the Bulldogs over the years, in games where they get well behind on the scoreboard, always try to turn it around through defence. They don't panic with the football. They try to force turnovers with their heavy tackling. And Stephen Price is a perfect example of that. First a charge down, then he was able to dislodge the ball from Dykes. The Dogs will tackle their way out of this game.
El Masri has got this to equal Daryl Halligan's 1994 club record of 270 points in a season. El Masri from the touchline, and it's just away. 20 points to 4 then, 28 minutes gone. Lovely day in the Olympic City, the harbour city of Sydney, and we trust you're enjoying the telecast wherever you might be watching it. Some in temperatures of up around 26 degrees, maybe higher out in the middle. Cronulla starts this match into action again with a commanding break. About 12 minutes of the first half remaining. Trindle. That is Scott able to unload for Corey Hughes. The play is back just inside the Dogs' 30-metre line. Darren Smith. Jamie Feeney. Smith, Feeney, Scott, all wearing headgear. Reardon, and loose ball for Graham, but it was knocked forward by a player playing at it.
Not sure whether he actually played at it, Ray, but it definitely came off a Shark's hand. Interesting to see what this shows. Well, I guess that was the case, and we are going to see Trindle feed the ball. That's why it wasn't called play on.
I think it was Nicholas over the top with the right hand. Just gets a hand on it there. You saw the ball come out very flat and low, indicating that he got fingers to it. He did play at it. Correct decision by Harrigan, and an opportunity for the Dogs to strike again.
This is Vanganar in possession. On the Sharks' 40-metre line. Trindle with a pass to Rahihi. Now It is Luke Patton in from the back. Trindle's. Oh, he lost the ball. He was about to reach out and put it over the line, and he hasn't got the football.
Surely he only had to lunge. The little fella grabbed by one boot, and the ball, I think he would have got there on the second lunge, but the impact of the ball on the ground as he fell dislodged it from his grasp. There's no doubt momentum would have got him there on the next lunge.
And Preston Campbell, the man going low, holding on with one leg. The impact forcing the ball out. Great offload from Paul Rahihi. And the momentum has turned in this game in the last couple of minutes.
Under 10 minutes to the break. Andrew on the sideline with a comment.
Yeah, well, Ray Phil talked about a common occurrence in the Bulldogs' comebacks when they've got to come from behind. Their defence gets them back in it. But another common occurrence is they normally score tries back-to-back, and they almost got two there. Need I remind you of their best comeback of the year? That was round 17 against the Eagles, where they trailed 20-0 early.
That's a 40. That's a 40-20, I believe, off the boot of Nick Graham.
Yeah.
Well, he's only the second man in the side for the Sharks this season to do that. They've had 3 successful ones, all off the boot of Adam Dykes. But there you can see he's 38 metres out from his own line, and he finds it about 18 metres out at the other end.
So that has just poured a bit of water on the Bulldogs' fire. There's no doubt they were starting to build and to lift. Peachy's on the blind side to the 10-metre line. He's lost the ball. It's a penalty.
And a call from the touch judge to Bill Harrigan there.
So will they take the kick, or will they take... They're going for the line. They're out looking for the big fish. Treaster is on. Campbell. Dykes. Dummied to Best, went out to Mellor. Mellor running at El Masri and Vangana. 9 metres away from the line. Right over on the eastern side, Rogers. Treacer. Campbell running around Pearce. Beatty up the middle. And there's a chance for Treaster. He's picked up Pearce. Pearce has picked up Dykes. They roll it in. El Masri's in trouble. It'll be a line dropout. Second best ending for Cronulla.
Good build up there, and Azam El Masri had nowhere to go. Got to point out that the number 16 Luke Stewart for the Sharks is doing a great job for them with Chris McKenna off. Here's the penalty. Bill Harrigan looked to the ref, to his touch judge, and the touch, he said it was raked out by the number 7 Darryl Trindle. That's why we saw the resulting penalty. Luke Stewart for the Sharks is actually playing out in the centres, and that's not his go. But that's the reshuffle that's taken place as Beatty off Peachy inside the 30.
So Peachy dropping back, taking a wider view of it, working out just when he will come into this set. Campbell across for Dykes, and Graham's almost out of a tackle. It's back for Peachy now. Peachy circling them. Now Ferris flicking out the back for Peachy. 25 metres out from the line. Treaster. Stevens. Works played 18 metres away. Pearce is knocked on. It's a blessing for Canterbury. Smith. Trindle. Having a superb game. Trindle. El Masri. Oh! It's lost by Peake. Rogers is heading for the corner. Rogers, he'll make it. Matt Rogers is over off an Adam Peake mistake.
Well, what a shame there for Adam Peake and the Bulldogs, because Adam Peake only moments ago came up with a bottler of a tackle on this side of the field on the front rower. And it only takes one mistake We saw one from Pearce giving the Bulldogs possession. Matt Rogers, he doesn't need much, does he? Nobody on the outside of Adam Peake. And Matt Rogers swooped, beat the tackle of Hughes, then stepped inside the tackle of Vangana.
It was a strange decision by Trindle to run down the short side. He really didn't have a lot of support. There was plenty of defence down there. He actually got caught from behind by the dummy half, and I don't think Peake imagined he was going to throw him the football. Was El Masri, sorry. Goes down the short side, he's caught from behind, and Peake was sort of just running along with him, thinking, well, will he or won't he? The ball came to him, he wasn't ready. Picked up by Rogers, still had some work to do here. Gets on the outside of Hughes coming across. Too much speed for him. Steps back inside Vangana. Probably a poor effort there by Vangana, even though was coming back against the grain. El Masri tries hard, has a slap at the ball, but Rogers too experienced. Had it up high away, then able to plant it down, and that's a hit back against the trend of the game in the last 15 minutes, and a big blow to the Bulldogs right on the stroke of half-time.
Well, it was the case of son on son. Matt Rogers, the son of the former great Cronulla centre Steve Rogers, and Adam Peake, the son of John from Canterbury's halcyon days as well. And that is away across the face of the upright. 24-4. 24-4 in the second semi-final. Sudden deather here at the Sydney Football Stadium. Andrew sideline.
Well, Ray, for the Doggies fans watching, if they want a double whammy of bad news, they're about to get it. Steve Reardon, their back rower, has been ruled out of the match. He came to the sideline, he was limping. It is ligament damage, and Steve Reardon, well, if the Dogs exit, his season is over. It's serious ligament damage for Steve Reardon, and he's pretty filthy about it.
El Masri kicking it straight to Peachy. Peachy immediately handing it over to Beattie to take it back. A 20-point lead, which they should be able to take to half-time, which is exactly 3.5 minutes away. Pearce.
Pointed out before how important that next set of 6 is after scoring points. This was a very clever set. 3 strong charges by forwards. On the 4th play, Peachy kicks. That's caught them by surprise. Luke Patton ducks under a tackle, but he's going to play the football 2 metres out from his own line, and everybody's still coming back.
Now Cronulla, that's a legal strip. Stewart. Treaster back for Beattie. Beattie half a metre from the line. Treaster finding Campbell. Oh! Adam Peake went in and got the little bloke. 9 metres from the line. Nick Graham struggling to get the ball away. Forced down by 4 Canterbury defenders.
That's for a kick from Dykes.
Treaster with a barge over endeavour. Dykes gets the ball now. Little ball away to Ferris. And 5th tackle. Rogers. Well, that is a very ordinary way to end what could have been an easy converted try for the Cronulla Sharks. They really lost the plot. 2 minutes to the break. Price. Talau. Darren Britt. Trindle back, finding Peake. Patton. Trindle's with him. Trindle. Right foot kick, heading down towards Campbell. Marked on the full by the Cronulla number 7. 20-metre line. Sharks in. Preston's in trouble.
Yeah, holding onto a knee or ankle here. I don't know whether he's been twisted in the tackle. It looked fairly harmless. but in obvious pain. Defends on the wing, that's why he was back to field the kick. Taken over the top by Hughes. Price comes in underneath. You can see where Hughes has buckled his knee and his ankle underneath. Now, fortunately, it came out. There's obviously been some damage in there. We're looking at his left leg as it bends and Hughes falls on top of it. The studs dig into the ground and the ankle doesn't flex as far. It looks as though he's really badly stretched the inside part of his ankle there. He's on his feet, which is a good sign.
Campbell is just being walked around by one of the trainers at the back of the play as Rogers is hit by 3 Canterbury defenders 30 metres out from the Sharks line, and under a minute in the first half remaining. Graham out to the 40-metre line. Just watching Campbell, he looks pretty good in his action now. Pearce. Peachy. Smart kicking late in the first half from Peachy. That just was a bit too heavy.
Yeah, we've seen all the last couple of weeks, very hard to get the ball to stop down this end of the Sydney Football Stadium. Most of the players been running, most of the kicks run dead there. But as the Bulldogs walk off at half-time, they will start to think about that game against the Dragons last week, beaten by 1 point. The feeling that they should be rested this week, sitting to wait the outcome of another match. Now they find themselves 24-4 down on the scoreboard and facing elimination.
Darren Britt giving them a final hope in the first half. Luke Patton down the middle, gets the ball back. Corey Hughes, it came off one of the Cronulla players. That's play on. And it is Adam Peake who is finally tackled. But there were some signs that even a 20-point margin may not be an impossibility for the Dogs. 24-4. 4 tries to 1. The Sharks minus McKenna, the Dogs minus Reardon. As we take a break, we'll be back with the second half of the action from the Sydney Football Stadium in just a moment. And welcome back, Sydney Football Stadium. Second half of the second sudden death semi-final. And the Bulldogs have got 40 minutes to come back from 24-4 to keep their season alive. Even if they don't, it'll be no fault of those two fellows, particularly Darren Britt. His defence was as good as any you would see in finals football in that first half. And Stephen Price, just a gut-wrenching performance in a side that is behind by 20.
Now, Tui's new possession flow chart shows that the Sharks, very good. 22 possessions, 16 completions. Now, the black columns are the error columns. You don't want those, but if they are going to appear, you want them tall. Mistakes late in the count. Very good start, in fact, right through to the halfway mark. A lot of possession and 3 tennis balls for tries. Now, the opposition, the Bulldogs, it doesn't get much worse than this. Just 17 uses of the ball, only 7 completions. Look at the black columns, the error columns. First tackle, second tackle, third tackle, fourth tackle. No football whatsoever. Quite surprising, in fact, that they are only 20 off the pace.
And the possession flow is transferred to the scoreboard and into the match stats. Look down the bottom, 62% possession for the Sharks. The tackle counts, the Bulldogs have had to come up with 178 compared to only 100 for the Sharks. As a result, more missed tackles and a 24-4 scoreline.
So the stage is set for the second half. Bill Harrigan positioned way over there on the eastern touchline. Second half underway, and Peachy again goes off to Chris Beattie to take it back. First tackle of the second half. Jason Stevens now. This time it's Pearce. Graham. So 4 tackles. And they're just outside the 40-metre line. Treaster close to halfway as they round off their first set. Dykes goes across to the alternate kicker, David Peachey. And Luke Patton now. Canterbury's first use of the ball in the second half. 4 tries to 1. They led by 20 points to 0, 18 minutes into the game.
And each week I like to tell you how both teams have fared when they've been in this position before. The Sharks have led 16 times this year at halftime. They've won 13 of those games. It's a great percentage. While the Bulldogs, they've trailed 10 times at halftime, have only won 4, less than 50%. Now the stats say that the Sharks are well poised to go on and win this one.
This is Jamie Feeney now to the halfway line on tackle number 5. So both sides on 5 tackles with their first set of 6 made it to the halfway line. And the Sharks will start their second set of the second half down on the 20-metre line with the tap restart. Andrews back from the sheds. What have you found out from the emergency ward in particular?
Yeah, well, Ray, I will tell you about the Sharks first of all. Chris McKenna will not be back because of that rib injury. The aim of John Lang in this second half was to win this second 40 minutes, and obviously they win that, they win the match. And with the injured Bulldogs, 5'8" Braden Nasta, hardly the way things you wanted to go according to plan today, that first 20 minutes.
Oh, definitely wasn't the best first 20 minutes, and obviously the way we didn't want to start. But yeah, the boys are a bit behind at the moment. Hopefully they can try and kick back in this second half.
Well, the team door's still pretty positive. The talk as the boys came down the tunnel, I heard one of the players cry out, "Let's keep plugging away." Hang on a sec, Rabes, it's all yours.
Rogers running off a Peachey pass, and then Rogers, will-o'-the-wisp stuff behind him. He gives it to Beattie. We'll just keep it here for a moment. We'll go back to Andrew and Braith. Dykes. The Bulldogs winger running away, back into that corner. Colin Best is on top of him. It's a line drop out as we go back to the sideline.
Yeah, thanks for staying with us, Braith. Just the strategy at this point is just to keep plugging away. That's all you can do.
That's right, we've got to plug away. Obviously, we haven't had too much ball. When we have had the ball, we've coughed it up a bit too much. So I think we've just got to complete some sets and just keep plugging away, as you said. And I'm sure that, you know, if they stick in there, they might have a chance of getting away with it, maybe. All
right, Braith, very quickly, last word. The thumb injury aside, now the ankle problem. If the Bulldogs did have a miraculous comeback here, would you be right next week?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident I'll be back next week.
Thanks for coming down, Braith. All yours, Raps.
Well, that's a terrible line dropout from Corey Hughes. And the Sharks at worst, I was about to say at worst, will be on the 30-metre line, but the Canterbury defence, they actually made ground in defence, Canterbury. And that is one of their real strike weapons. Here's the Sharks with Dykes now, probing for an opening. 2 tackles gone and they haven't made an inch. Stewart rectifies the situation. Stevens, Campbell, Beattie. It's with Canterbury. Darren Smith across for Nigel Vungadar. Lovely tackle from Treaster. But the Sharks, they were met by ferocious defence after getting the line dropout made to order for them. There might be a little problem creeping into this for the Sharks. And Canterbury take the pressure off them.
Well, Trindle had 2 players to pass to, and either one would have been okay. Talau hit the gap very, very hard. I think he would have been into space. The ball goes past him. Martini reached out in front, but a bad pass from Trindle puts the hands to the face and realises he had 2 options and found a third. Which one? Which was a bad one.
Don't hook till ball's in.
5 metres on the Sharks' end of the ground. They win the scrum and they find Paul Mellor early, and now Rogers. Tremendous cover work there by Darren Smith it was. Luke Patton played his part. Now it's gone across to the middle of the ground. Through Stewart, through Treaster, through Ferris. Campbell will score! Campbell scores his second try of the day.
Again, it was set up by the previous play. Matt Rogers skirting down the sideline off a brilliant ball from Paul Mellor. Adam Dykes was back on the inside. desperately trying to get the ball back there. El Masri coming in again with Bunganar, not making the tackle, not completing the tackle. The ball was thrown, and Matt Rogers has had a great game tonight. Wendell Saylor had a beauty last night. Rogers is backing that up this afternoon. Darren Smith and Patton did very, very well. Now let's just have a look how the Bulldogs regroup. They go wide. As we freeze it there, look at this man from the Bulldogs. Second in from the outside. Look how he's raced up. And if they can get the ball in behind the line, as they do with the pass, as play continues, they take advantage of that hole. Preston Campbell ran into the hole, lost his balance, dived over.
Yeah, Ferris plays at hooker, a former half and 5'8". And when the offence is racing up quickly like that, you just need a cool head. You just need to wait and let them make the mistake. And Ferris did that. A little Preston crawling on his hands and knees, just gets the ball down in time before he loses control. But watch Ferris. They've raced up quickly out wide. He just waits and waits and waits, then pops the ball behind them. Campbell, nearly too quick for his own good, overran it. Starts to stagger from the attention from Martini, but reaches out and puts it down. Beautiful patience shown there by Ferris.
And through all of those replays, Rogers has only just arrived at the point to take the conversion. He lost a boot in the tackle made on him by Luke Patton and Darren Smith. It was a tremendous chase by Darren Smith.
It was.
This is the incident, Peter.
He arrived there with Luke Patton. Darren Smith, not a noted speedster, as Matt Rogers, one of the quickest players in the NRL.
There's the conversion. So they turn 4 into 6 and they turn the scoreboard over again. 30 points to 4. Johnny Lang Sharks after 7 of the second half.
Stay behind.
El Masri kicking it straight to David Peachy, straight to Chris Beattie. It's just like a replay. Lovely hands, Peachy. Not held, or was he? Yes, he was.
Haven't the Sharks on a couple of occasions come up with some great takes of the football? I reckon 4 or 5 times the ball has been down around the bootlaces. They've gathered it in every time. In fact, Adam Dykes in that set of 6 leading up to that last try did the same, as we saw David Peachy do only a tackle ago.
Right on the halfway line, Treaster made a dummy half run. You can expect to see more of that. Pearce did well. Peachy's done better. No, the pass is misdirected. Martini's got the ball. That was a chance there for the Sharks. They isolated Martini. It only needed a good pass. Chilau. 35 metres away from the Sharks line for Britt now. Rolling it up. Now Peak. Just inside the 30-metre line. Off goes Corey Hughes. 30 points to 4. Needless to say, they need a converted try badly. Britt gets it away, and Stephen Price is under the crossbar. Almost. That's just what the doctor ordered. That is just what they needed.
And deservedly, it is Darren Britt who throws the pass. Now that pass, if it had found its mark, could have led to problems for the Bulldogs at the other end of the field, but Martini able to come up with the ball, and then Darren Britt at his best, his offloading best. Let's have a look at how many players he's able to attract. He comes to the line, we freeze it there. We've got 1, 2, 3 players involved, and now we're going to see Stephen Price come up the middle there, and as play continues, Darren Britt gets the arm free, and Price combines with his front row partner to get 4, about to be 6.
It was probably a bad decision by Peachy. Sorry, Ray. It was a bad decision by Peachy to come forward on the Britt. There was only going to be one more danger, which was the unload. He had to go to Price.
El Masri converts the try, and he equals Daryl Halligan's point-scoring record or goal-kicking record from 1994, wasn't it? Andrew sideline.
And Ray, savour this offload, because if the Bulldogs make their exit today, of course, it'll be the last we see of Darren Brett. It was Beatson-like, the ball around the corner. Darren Brett off to St Helens next year. He's been the Bulldogs Player of the Year this year, and you've got to say he is an inspiration as leader of this Bulldogs club.
Yes, what a vacuum he's going to leave. It's almost unbelievable that he has to go.
Well, they've invested in Marco Mealy to fill that role, haven't they? But the big shoes to fill.
El Masri, by the way, has equalled the club points record in a season held by Halligan in 1994. Last weekend he equalled the tries in a season set by Chris Anderson. So Hazem El Masri in 7 days has really rewritten some record books. Wonderful ambassador for the club. Price just inside the 30-metre line. They're down by 20 points with 30 minutes to go. Anybody else other than the Dogs, and you'd probably say they can't win. Price.
We see the kick here from Corey Hughes with Peachy, some ground to cover. Another one that will go dead, as Phil Gill pointed out. They inevitably do so. Be interested to see when John Lang brings Martin Lang and Jason Stevens back into the fray. It could be, in fact, Stevens is out there now, but Lang, our man of the match last week, he'd want to be out there for probably the next 5 or 10 minutes to finish the game. We've got a stripping penalty against the Dogs here.
This is my problem with the stripping rule. There is no doubt in the world that Nick Graham intended to pass this ball and was having it available. What do you do when a player has a ball out like that trying to offload? You're well within your rights to make a play for it. He's got it available for his own team. It has to be available for your team too.
Now the only other choice you've got, Gus, to let him pass it.
Yeah, well,
That's not right.
It goes against the grain, doesn't it?
It does indeed. It is a 50-50 game of defence and offence, and the defensive side in that case is badly disadvantaged. Has to be looked at. Stevens plays it here on the western touchline. Graham takes it towards the centre. Just when they start to look like they might be teetering on the edge, they come back and put a try together, the Sharks. Stewart, 28 metres out from the line. Played back for Dykes to give it away to Mellor. Head clash over there. The Dogs have got a problem. 2 players on the ground, taking no part. It's an 11-man line. Make it 12. One of them's got back. The Sharks have got them on the ropes. Now they come across with Adam Dykes. Then it's catch and pass, and they bombed it. Rogers had a mile of room.
Well, they were in all sorts of trouble, the Bulldogs. Martini and Talau came together on the far side, and no wonder Willie Talau is still down. Shane Martini looked like he'd just been hit with a Mike Tyson left.
So, Darren Brett again heads this passage up the middle. Follow me, please. Might well be the words. Darren Smith tries to squeeze a pass to Jamie Feeney. It'll be a scrum with a loose head and feed to the Sharks of Cronulla.
Yeah, it's the 3rd time today that Darren Smith has turned ball player, and an error has resulted. A forward pass and a couple of difficult ones there. The pass wasn't on to Feeney. The Sharks read it well. And Darren Smith trying to do a Braith and Asta, trying to give them some creativity. They lost Anasta, they lost Sherwin, they lost Stephen Hughes. Darren Smith playing an unfamiliar role as Willie Talau in the back play, trying to clear the stars that he's seeing at the moment after that sickening head clash.
He's actually off the field there. He's down on his haunches. He's off the field. Just trying to run a count across them. How many have they got out there? I think they're playing a man down at the moment. That's hard to believe in defence, isn't it? Here's Mellor out on the left for Rogers. Rogers down the western touchline, but then hesitates.
What about Dykes again? Again picked it up off his boots.
Best. Ferris. Graham, second man for Stevens. And that's good defence on a big man. As we look down on them, 20 metres out, centre of the ground. Graham, interchange has gone on for Cronulla. Graham inside the 20-metre line. And this is Pearce, hammered into the ground. Peachy. Now it's McNicholas. McNicholas. Treaster. Dykes inside for Rogers. Oh, the ball went all over the place, including coming off a Canterbury player, Stephen Price, but it's play on. Well, that's not the first time in the game that Cronulla seemingly have got lost down inside the 10-metre line.
Well, we've still got Willie Talau trying to gather his thoughts on the far side out of this match, and Shane Martini now getting attention in his own in-goal area, may even be getting the bandage going around the head. A sickening blow between those two men.
So they're playing, they really have 12 men out there now at their disposal. The 13th is back in the in-goal, getting attention. And Talau has been taken off. That's gone out on the full.
Yeah, Tricky tried the old soccer kick off the outside of the foot. Very narrow short side to work in. Wanted to kick that downfield and float it back towards the sideline, but out over the touch on the full. Little pat on the head from Dykes, who's a kicker himself, understands that not everything goes perfectly every time. Dogs can't afford that if they're going to get back into the game.
Treaster looking at Vangana, the tackler, inquiringly. Oh, that is a big tackle. The Sharks player is unconscious.
Yeah, Dennis Scott and company came up with a bone crunch. I think Stephen Price was the other man. Very concerned John Lang on the sideline there, because that was a heavy hit. Andrew Pearce going across field, get him around the midriff and pile driving.
Well, Stephen Price was the man over the top. Dennis Scott underneath. I thought there might have been a hint of a head slam, but he had him more around the chest, Price. There he is. He's under the ball. The head goes down.
For the concern Stephen Price shows the player, he realises he's in trouble. He stays with him.
I don't think they've done anything wrong in this tackle. Stephen Price could tell straight away that Pearce was in trouble. It was a good, solid shot. These accidents do happen on a football field.
Vangana, his centre partner Willie Talau, being looked at by the doctor. Peak, 43 metres away from the Sharks line. A groggy Andrew Pearce gets back into the defence line. As one of his tacklers struggles there to get it away. And he's ruled that he was held.
And I yelled it out.
And he said, I yelled out.
Couldn't have called it any longer.
I could hear him from here.
You there, ball?
He screamed out at the top of his voice, 4, tackle 4.
Before you even threw it.
Just as he was getting the ball available.
Have a listen to this. That was Bill Harrigan. He said held. We believe you, Bill. No further argument. Play almost on the halfway in centre field. Beatty.
He might be the Phantom Siren.
Treaster running more and more as the game draws on. Very fit dummy half running at the big men. Nathan Long inside the 30-metre line. The Sharks never won a grand final. Campbell for McNicholas. 25 metres out from the Bulldogs line. Last won the premiership in 1995 as Graham puts a kick up. The bounce is important. It goes dead for El Masri.
I know the scoreline is 30-10 in favour of Sharks, but there is a fair bit of courage on display out here from the Bulldogs. At this point in the game, they have made 238 tackles compared to 146 from the Sharks. And as we've seen, plenty of occasions have had men down in the line injured. That's an extraordinary advantage in favour of the Sharks and shows you how much work this Bulldog side has done, and they refuse to let go of the game.
There's an interesting change. Stephen Folkes has taken Daryl Trindle off, and he's put Adam Perry back into the game. Perry was pulled off fairly early in the game. A couple of mistakes. He's back there now, and Trindle is the man that's gone off. So Corey Hughes will go to number 7. Here's Britt looking for him now. And Stevens goes up, big man on big man, and makes the tackle.
Well, I've given a big rap to Luke Stewart the afternoon, the role he's played in the centres for the Sharks. I think Jamie Feeney now finds himself in the centres for the Bulldogs. As the last tackle signalled, goes to Darren Smith, chips it to the right-hand corner, bottom corner. Peachy does well.
David Peachy looking for space, taking the ball to ground inside his own 10-metre line. Cronulla defending their own end, the southern end.
John Lang has got the fresh troops on now. Nathan Long into the action. Martin Lang's out there. McNicholas has been on for a couple of minutes. I'll go very close to finishing the game. 20 to go, just over 20. And some petrol in the tank.
Stewart now 30 metres away from his line. And still this comfortable buffer on the scoreboard. 30 points to 10. They throw it around. Graham. And now for the kick. Sun in the eyes of Shane Martini. Up in towards that northwest area of the stadium. He's lost the ball. Harrigan set play on. 18 metres out from the Dogs' line. The Dogs are in trouble. Stevens away for Lang. Martin Lang. Martin Lang. I don't think I've seen him score a try before. He's enjoying it. Well might he do.
Well, I know Andrew Voss will be able to tell us exactly with Martin Lang, his try-scoring exploits. Shane Martini, look, you've got to feel sorry for him. Not long ago, he was knocked rotten. And did Matt Rogers knock on there in picking up the football? If he did, it was missed. And then a beautiful offload at this end of the field from Jason Stephen. If he frees it there, you can see that the Bulldogs players have both come in. 2 players in, and that opens up that hole. And as play continues, it's just a simple offload. Wonderful skill at the other end from Brett. This is from Stevens.
And I was wrong. It's his 2nd try in a career.
It certainly was, and I'm calling a high tackle here on Adam Dykes on Martin Lang. Martin Lang will score the try, and Adam Dykes will come through in a careless grade 3 and get him right around the neck. Bang! How do you like that one from your own teammate?
Phil Gould, QC, grading it as a number 3. Rogers converts. Martin Lang's 2nd try ever. 36 to 10, and Dad is proud.
Behind the kick, fellas.
20 minutes of the game remaining. 9 networks. Exclusive coverage of the Rugby League semi-finals. And this is a scrum. The ball cannot go forward in the play of the ball.
Darren Brett has come up with 3 or 4 of the biggest hits of the season today, all in one game. And if the Sharks think they're going to get a soft 18 minutes to finish this semi-final, they're playing against the wrong team. The Dogs will keep coming and keep hitting.
Patton, 13 metres away from the southern try line. Quick hands for Perry.
Hold, 2, held.
El Masri. Mason. Getting slow ball made him an easier target. Britt. Perry, Hughes, Smith, Bunganar, Scott, and into touch.
Yeah, the poor Bulldogs, they've got no halves out there. They've got forwards playing in the centres, forwards out on the wing. Scott, in an unfamiliar role of playing out on the flank, didn't know what to do when the ball came his way, got bundled into touch by the keen Sharks defence. There's nothing happening for the Dogs, only their own courage to keep them going to full time.
I notice the other casualty of that head clash is now being escorted off. Shane Martini down at the southern end by Ricky Stewart. So the head clash has cost them both Talau and Martini now, as Mellor loses the ball under pressure.
Here's Shane Martini coming from the field. You said earlier he had the sun in his eyes. He probably can't work out why he's still seeing stars. That was the head clash earlier today, right on the back of the head. Talau's down, he's been off since. Martini bravely has stayed on, he's had his head strapped, but he just doesn't know where he is.
Now, the Dogs desperately trying. Price will play the ball just outside the 20-metre line. This is Peak. Perry, Smith, and that will be Cronulla ball. Stewart will play it. Graham.
Courage plus from Willie Talau. He's now out on the far left wing. He must be doing it nice and tough as Martin Lang takes it 25 out. They just run out of troops.
McNicholas. Head hitting the ground. Heavy tackle by Nigel Vunganar. Stevens. Long. So it's looking more apparent now that Cronulla will play Newcastle. In one of the qualifying finals, Parramatta will play Brisbane. 26-point margin, 36-10. 6 tries to 2. They enter the game without Anasta, Braith, Brent Sherwin, Glenn Hughes, Barry Ward suspended. And they've had no luck at all with injuries. There's some of the other players that they've been without, Craig Polamatta in particular, Travis Norton. But eventually, that wave of injuries in particular has flooded over them. They are brave, but we knew that. Loose ball for Cronulla. Colin Best. Colin Best. He's away. They won't catch Colin Best. Under the Northern uprights. 40 points to 10. It's a day of high excitement for the Sharks of Cronulla.
One of the best broken field runners in the game, Colin Best. The Dogs here, a couple of marginal passes from them. Both of them could have been pulled up. That looked forward. There'll be another one here from Peak that comes out, looks forward, and it just dropped in front of the wrong fellow. Colin Best with some tired forwards, footwork, speed, comes out the other side. Sharks players raise their hands. Patton chases valiantly. But when you drop the ball, you don't want to drop it in front of this fella. One of the best broken field runners in the game.
And look at that action of Colin Best. He, for a very tall man, he is so elusive. He gets down, beating players close to the ground, and then he starts to rise to his correct height and then extends. Beautiful athlete to watch.
Because he's done well. He had injury problems earlier in the season as Rogers takes the conversion, but it sets up now a tremendous game next week. Newcastle Knights up against the Cronulla Sharks. The last time they played, 49-30 in a try feast.
Rogers converts. It is 42-10. The Sharks giving it to the Dogs. Talking of that last encounter, of course, was the day that Andrew Johns was suspended for that forearm on Adam Dykes.
Stay behind it.
As Hazem El Masri kicks off again. Still 13 minutes to go.
Yeah, Ray, we've talked about the woes for the Dogs today, their injury problems during the week and even during this contest, but probably haven't given enough raps to this Sharks side. Been tremendous up front, very tough. They've been whacked by the Bulldogs, but they've kept coming. And the likes of Dykes and Peachy and Rogers and Campbell have just cut them to ribbons. 42-10 on the scoreboard. That's impressive by anyone's language. They're in this competition up to their ears, and the Broncos last night and the Sharks today have registered their claims that this competition may not be a one-horse race.
Dykes. Sharks again. That is Stewart. Don't tell me he's going to do it. Yes, he has. Well, Sterlo was amazed that he could play out in the three quarters, but he has run like a three-quarter. He is a three-quarter.
Well, he used to be a three-quarter, and Phil Gould set me straight on that. I only know him as a front row, second row. But this belies that. They create the overlap. Well, in fact, not really an overlap, it was 2-on-2, just superior pace by the 16th of Darren Smith. Phil Gould, you tell me about him, because I didn't know that he was a former centre.
Yeah, lower grade centre, recently moved into the forwards because of his great work rate and constitution, and he shows the speed of his younger days here, and a little bit of the forward strength at the end of it to make sure of the try. Bang! Holds his ground, unable to get the ball across the line. Great run there from Luke Stewart, off to the Rabbitohs next year and doing a fine job for the Sharks in their finals campaign.
Preston Campbell has been taken from the field by his coach John Lang as a reward, and he's now joined the cheer squad for Luke Stewart.
That's been a good week for Preston. Valium halfback of the year, player of the year. He's got a new car, and now he's going to a grand final qualifier.
And now he's leading the cheer squad. What can't he do? Rogers then from the touchline.
Can't dunk the basketball.
This is the Sharks' highest ever score in finals footy. Grand finals in 73, 78, 97. Fellows like Tommy Bishop, Cliffy Watson, Steve Rogers, they can remember it. Now, Matt Rogers just away. 46-10. 10 minutes to go, Andrew.
And it's cotton wool time. You mentioned Preston Campbell to the bench. Jason Stevens played the first 65 minutes straight. Once the game was finally in the bag, or certainly sealed beyond a comeback for the Bulldogs, John Lang brought him straight off. The focus is now on Newcastle next week. And on the Dogs side of things, they've still got one interchange left up their sleeve. I'm looking off to my left. Darren Britt is still on the bench. They might just send him out there in his final game in the NRL for the last 6 or 7 minutes.
8 tries. They are revelling the afternoon, are they not? Martin Lang, now Chris Beattie.
Yeah, Vossi, you mentioned the fact Darren Britt will finish his career in England, presumably. Of course, the Bulldogs without the services of Craig Polamander after an injury a couple of weeks ago. He's retired. And Rod Silver, one of the very likeable players in the NRL for a number of seasons now. He's finished up. Great to see him get a run last week and scoring a try as Mellor almost makes it to the halfway, tackled low by Trindle. Back the week before for Silver.
Triple chase.
So the Sharks, with Best swooping on a ball that has gone forward.
Yeah, gone forward. I think it ranks as one of the worst passes I've ever seen from Chris Beattie. He backed up the chip kick, got the football, had players out wide. He knew they were there, only had to find them. And probably, oh well, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. He knew he had players out there.
Darren Smith. Darren Britt with a wave to the cameras. Goodbye, Australian Rugby League. 227 first-grade games played in the Bulldogs. Grand final win over Manly in 1995. Played for Australia 98 through 2000. It is bon voyage for Darren Britt. You've served your clubs, the Magpies and the Dogs, and Australia well. Penalty goes to Cronulla.
Yes, just raking the ball back, not raking it back, rolling it back. Darren Britt, he's just a reward of perseverance as we see Preston Campbell get that knee strap. He didn't represent until very late in his career, but we're all very glad that he got that opportunity. As the Sharks now with 7.5 minutes to go, 0 in on 50.
Beautiful ball promotion. Mellor eventually put down just inside the 10-metre line. Peachy and Graham combine out there. I'm just looking at Adam Dykes. He took a long time to rise after being tackled. Now he wants the ball. Dykes beats one. Runs back to the right of the ground. Case of handball. And that is Stewart over there. Beatty now. Pearce, Ferris. Pulled down by Jamie Feeney. 6.5 minutes of the second sudden death semi-final. Still to go. Peachy rolls it in, and Corey Hughes is able to get it back into the field of play. So we've had that very high-scoring semi-final last night, and Corey unable to play the ball. Bill Harrigan will move the point of the play the ball. Another high-scoring semi-final today.
And Hughes showed plenty of courage here to dive back into the field of play, just catching the knees of Beatty, who came in to force him into the in goal. Battered and bruised, the Dogs. They've dished it out and they've taken it today. The Sharks very impressive. The thing I like most about the Sharks today, they've probably served their apprenticeship at finals football. They've held big leads in semi-finals before and been run down by being a bit negative and not continuing to use the football. Today they've attacked at every opportunity. They've kept the play moving and they've run the Bulldogs ragged.
Another good thing for them, Gus, too, is that probably every side has to experience a low during the season. They did that and recovered very well to finish in the top 4. And they're playing their best football when it counts. They've been given a Melbourne Cup Bart Cummings type preparation by John Lang.
Mason. Trindle. And now Luke Patton. Through a gap. Just losing his footing under that last attempted tackle. To the blind side for Trindle to kick ahead. Oh, what a catch by Ferris. Well, he was at what, silly mid-off. Dykes.
John Lang still has 2 replacements up his sleeve. Geez, I'll get Dykes off. I'll get him off now. I wouldn't risk it, even for only 4.5 minutes. He's so vital to them. He's had injury problems.
McNicholas on the 5th tackle. Dykes kicking it down to Luke Patton, back in the end goal. Crowd figure here today, just a shade better than last night, but still cause for concern, I would imagine. 21,500. Rahihi. Forward pass from Darren Britt.
No advantage.
And we get the same result anyway. Scrum will go down 37 metres away from the Canterbury line. 46-10 with 3.5 minutes to go.
The Dogs struggling to put a scrum together. Which position are you playing? Where are you playing? All out of position. Players wounded on the sideline. The Sharks hungry for points. Still 3 1/4 minutes left on the clock. Sorry way to end their season, which has been a good one.
Inside lead, Chris. Inside lead, mate.
Well, let's look ahead.
Play on.
The Dogs with Trindle.
Stand, Colin.
Against the head, was it?
Yeah, got one against the head. Only a couple of minutes to go. This is the biggest winning margin for the Sharks this season. They defeated the Penrith side 42-10, so a 42-point spread there. And a 36. And as we do look ahead, Ray, Saturday, Sharks back in action.
Corey Hughes. Patton. I was just going to ask you two gentlemen for your early tips for next weekend. Availability and injuries will play a part. Trindle. Peachy picked it up with superb confidence. First preliminary final live on Saturday night at 7:30.
You know, Ray, there's an extraordinary statistic too. In the last 4 years, the teams that have had the week break during the final series, out of the 8 games played, only one team that has had the break has been successful. Now, I always thought it was an advantage to have a week's break at this time of year, but only one in the last 8 has actually been successful. So a little bit of momentum with the Sharks and the Broncos, and suddenly Parramatta and Newcastle will feel a little bit nervous about that statistic.
If you're looking for an early tip in the Saturday game, the Sharks up against Newcastle, that game that Phil Gould was talking about, that Tri-Fest, the black day for Andrew Johns. I remember that game well, and the Sharks were always in control.
Here's Patton putting in an innocuous kick. And the ball has been touched by Canterbury. It will simply mean the time will be soaked up as they pack the scrum, which will be the final scrum of the day. A minute to go.
What I find extraordinary is that we had 2 semi-finals this weekend. The team that played and won on the Saturday, the Broncos, now play next Sunday, and the team that played today, Sunday, has to play next Saturday. So the Sharks get a shorter preparation. Wouldn't make any difference to the other 2 teams, but it certainly makes a big difference to the Sharks.
Ferris is in, running off a Dykes pass. They've reached the half-century. Jason Ferris trailed Adam Dykes, and Dykes has put it back on his chest.
Well, they should know each other well. They played plenty of football together in the halves. That was until Preston Campbell came along. Jason Ferris now finds himself in the hooking role. And a great finish brings up the half-century for them. And the Sharks will go in cock-a-hoop against Newcastle next week on the back of another very strong performance.
What is worrying me is that I asked you both 2 minutes ago for your tips for next weekend, and you've been dodging around there for half an hour. Dykes taking the conversion, and it is 52 points to 10. Chris McKenna back in civilian clothes, one of the casualties, one of the many casualties from both sides today. 52 points to 10. The full-time score in favour of Cronulla, who now will play Newcastle in the sudden death qualifying final, as will Parramatta do the same against Brisbane on Sunday. We have 2 marvellous games coming up, therefore, next Saturday and Sunday. 2 very high-scoring sudden death semi-finals last night and today. The Sharks were equally as brilliant as Brisbane were last night.